Because like all National Guardsmen, our motto is always ready, always there. And, you could get a call in the evening to report to your armory immediately. And we saw this during COVID, civil disturbance, hurricanes, wildfires, floods. We need them to be ready at a moment's notice. And part of that, a key element of that, is being medically ready. And we can bring people in and we can train them. We can work 18 hours a day. We can stay on the rifle range till they qualify. But you can't surge medical readiness. It's got to be preventative care. It's got to be seeing a doctor when you're injured or sick, so you're always ready. And so that's one of those areas that we really want to close the gap on in terms of taking care of our people. Readiness really is, advocating for the resources with the Army and the Air Force. Modernization is, as we transform into new equipment, we have to make sure that the National Guard gets transformed as well. And although we can't, go down to the F-35 store and buy all new F-35s, what we have to do is make sure that all of the equipment we have is deployable, it's sustainable, we have the parts to fix it, and really that it's interoperable. So if we may have F-35s, we have to have it where F-16s and F-15s can talk to them so that they can still do their mission, anywhere around the globe that they need to. And the same with all our Army equipment. It's got to be able to connect into the Joint Force because, the National Guard's the second largest organization in the Department of Defense behind the Army. And we're 20% of the Joint Force. So we have to be able to be part of whatever our nation asks our military to do. So I think a great example of that is, we look at the founding of the Guard as back in 1636. So we're probably one of the oldest, if not the oldest, institution in America. So our ability to stay relevant, capable, and meet the needs of our country over that, hundreds of years has been really important. And then you look at our people as well, how we have transformed from really the militias and then into World War I and World War II, where we were formed in divisions, and then after World War II, the forming of the Air National Guard. We have always really kind of tailored to meet what our nation needs. And when you look again back that we're 20% of the Joint Force and we're roughly about 4% of the Department of Defense's budget, we have to be that value to our nation where we have all that strategic depth and capability at a cost that our nation can afford. I mean, if we can afford it, yeah, it'd be great to have everybody on active duty, but we can't. And so by putting large formations and units within the Guard, we retain that capability and capacity at a much lower cost. And so when we look forward, when we look at our Guardsmen, we also have to consistently, like we always have, they've got to be able to balance their civilian career, their military career, and their family so that they can serve. And we know throughout their career they're going to lean on one leg or the other, more so. But we need to find that balance so they don't have to start choosing between two of the three or one of the three. Because the fact they show up on a drill weekend and annual training, they respond to disasters or deploy when we need them to, they meet an incredible requirement that our nation needs to get done. And my goal here is to make sure us and our staff, we do everything we can to support them, the 54 states, territories, and DC, so that those Guardsmen show up on a drill weekend, they train, they build the readiness our nation needs, and then when they're ready to go, they're ready to go. So.
How optimistic are you? You've been faithfully beating the drum on the healthcare issue in particular, that will become a reality. What are you seeing? What are you hearing?
So we work with our congressional leadership every chance we can to really highlight the issue. And, I don't presuppose the solution. Like some people, was it TRICARE for everybody? And I said, well, that's a possibility. But for me, we know there's an expense associated with it. And when you look at the turnover, so we have about 50,000 come into the Guard every year, about 50,000 retire or depart the organization. So in the course of 1 year, you might have 100,000 people change within the organization. So clearly understanding the scope of the issue, And then also taking a look at money that we already dedicate towards it, like bringing medical professionals prior to a deployment. Well, if everybody has health care, you would think a lot of those issues would be resolved because the guardsmen could take care of it at their point of need. And so what we're trying to do is account for the savings that would show the potential decrease in the amount of the bill. The other thing is we have to figure it for every guardsman, and that's $430,000. Well, we know many guardsmen already have health insurance through their employer, and they may prefer to keep that. But it's hard to know what that exact number is. And so we're trying to demonstrate really to our congressional leadership that generally what we think the bill is, because we think it's a lot less than what they anticipate it could be. But then on the other end, what we're trying to show is the readiness that's gained from that. And when you look at the ability to recruit and retain in today's environment, many part-time jobs are providing health care or educational benefits, things that we have traditionally relied on in the Guard and the military. And so for us to be competitive out there, these are some things that we have to consider providing as a benefit to attract the kind of people we want.
Okay. Got about 5 more minutes.
Oh,
Okay.
great. Yeah.
I've seen good news on the recruiting front in
Right.
recent months, that it's trending upwards. So
It is.
I was wondering if you could expound on what the good news stories are.
Yeah.
What messages that the Guard is putting out there are
Yeah.
resonating with people, what's been successful.
So everywhere I go, and I try and visit all the National Guards, I'll stop purposefully and spend about 30 minutes to an hour with the recruiters. And I'll talk to them about what's working, what's not working, what are people interested in when they come into the National Guard, what are the things they're not interested in. And interestingly, what I find is there's 54 National Guards. Each community is a little bit different. But what we're finding over time is, we kind of had the cumulative effects of COVID, not being access to schools, people being virtually at school. Now we're coming out to a very strong economic environment where there's a high demand for employees, so there's a lot of competition for them as well. So generally what we're finding, and as you mentioned, our recruiting is up. Now, we're not going to declare victory because we've got a long way to go, and it's great to see the positive trend. But a lot of the feedback we're getting is, number one, they're getting back in the schools. They're getting back to the chance to visit with young men and women one-on-one. A lot of folks are also really kind of evaluating their life, and many wanted to serve their country. And so we're having some folks that are a little bit older than we would normally think. Like I had a gentleman this weekend in Tennessee. He came into the Guard at 39. And he came in and he still have enough time to meet his retirement. But his point was he wanted to serve, and when he found out he still could at that age, he jumped at the chance. And one of the best soldiers I met had come in at age 26, had children and a family. And he said he just wanted a better life for himself. And the training he received, the educational benefits, the leadership, and frankly the discipline has not only made him a better soldier, a better employee for his company, and he himself has aspired to even more. And now he's a recruiter back in the community where he came from. And he finds himself as a success story for that remote area by showing young men and women, hey, I was here like you, and look what I've been able to do. And really just kind of expose people to the military. One of the concerning statistics that we have is about 78% of those that are in the military have an immediate family member, friend, or relative. And so the good news is people that know about the military know that it's a great place to serve your country. The hard story of that is if you've not been exposed to anybody, you don't even know what's out there. And that's where we rely not only on our recruiters, but each and every one of our guardsmen to take the time to tell their story and talk about the benefits of serving your country, the benefits of being in the National Guard, and how it can benefit you and the country at the same time.